Somewhere in the courthouse, it's 11 or 9 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order.
Well, 11 too. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remind you, this is a public meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We're keeping a written record and a visual record. If I become confused on the time, it's only because yesterday morning I woke up in Basel, Switzerland, and so I'm not sure what time it is, but we'll assume it's 9 o'clock in Pendleton. So with that, we'll move on. Awards, recognition, and correspondence. Commissioner Elfring.
Well, yes, and so it's that time of year, and it's always wonderful to have some response coming in. We've had some response come back to us from the junior show, our contribution to support the junior show and the livestock auction that they have over there, which we do every year. Those who participated and received benefits from Umatilla County's bump of that prize fund or that payment fund have written in thanksgiving to us for having done that. I won't read all 35 of them that came in today, or it certainly would be 11 o'clock somewhere in the courthouse by the time I was done. But let me read just one and call it typical of the response that they've given us. It says, "Dear Umatilla County Commissioners, thank you for buying my pig from the junior show." Well, we didn't really buy it, but we supported the sale. "Thank you for supporting me by buying my pig. The money will be going into my college education. I hope to see you next year at the junior show." Signed by Marika Prock from Milton Freewater. And all those kids, they work very hard on their projects, and it's our pleasure to be able to support them with what they do and to make it. The way it works really is the fund, the money comes in from the auction. The animals are sold in the auction, the money comes in, and generally, as is kind of just human nature, for the first few bidders, because they're bidding on the highest ranking animals, the first few bids are really quite high, and they tend to taper off as they go down through the list, and those kids work just as hard on their projects, and it's unfortunate, the timing, I guess it's a luck of the draw, the timing that they get in on. So they have we have the opportunity to help equalize and level out the amount of the sales. So it's a little bit of evening out. So we're proud to sponsor it, proud to help it, and it's nice to have this kind of response.
I think I would add to that also, we did get a thank you note from the from the Milton Freewater Junior Show. They work very, very hard. They put on an excellent show. They have grounds that are used frequently, and we did make a contribution to their restroom renovation fund. Those familiar with the Milton Freewater Junior Show grounds realize it was a very, very worthy cause, and so they wrote to thank us and indicated that thanks to our generosity, they were able to get underway with their project. So, anything, Commissioner Schaefer?
We're talking about the auction and the animals. I've got a son who's starting his junior year of college, and we're looking at graduation with debt-free, and he put a lot of his pig money into his college fund also, so that definitely goes a long way. So.
Good. Anything else, Commissioner Elfring?
Nope.
All right. We have minutes of May 15th, 2019, June 19th, 2019, June 26th, 2019, June 27th, 2019, and July 3rd, 2019.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the minutes of May 15, June 19, June 26th, June 27th, and July 3rd.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Is there any input from the public relative to items that are not on our agenda? All right. We'll move into our first agenda item, which is the report from the Charter Review Committee. We have 4 members, I think if I counted correctly, we have 4 members of the Charter Review.
Oh, you're good.
Here, and certainly before we hear their report, I would like to thank them for their service. We take a great deal of pride in the fact that we have a number of committees in the county that require citizen participation. We do take seriously the role of the committees that provide that kind of engagement. This committee did a lot more work, longer and harder work over an extended period of time, and we certainly wish to thank you for your commitment. So, who is going to initiate this?
Suppose
Michelle?
I am. since
The
I'm
the chair?
person.
Fine.
And I'd
Michelle.
like to hand you the bound version of our
Ah.
report, which
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
believe you've seen in email form.
Thank you.
Is that correct? As you will remember, we had a meeting, or not a meeting, a work session on May 29th. And I made a presentation about our proposal, and we heard commentary from the commissioners. And I must say, it was instructive. We listened to the commissioners, and I hope you will listen to us now. We met after the May 29th meeting, and by the way, I will not repeat any of the items that I reviewed during the May 29th meeting, because I'm sure you're all aware of our position at that time. But this is the change that we made from the May 29th meeting, and I must say it was strictly based upon the input of commissioners, specifically Commissioners Elfering and Schaefer. We decided that, upon your recommendation, that moving to a 5-member Board of Commissioners would not be advisable, that it would be a very hard sell to the public. Change is difficult, and it would not be in the best interest of the county to pursue an election that was not likely to succeed. So what we did was we eliminated from our recommendations the change which we had made, proposed change that we had made to the charter, proposing 5 commissioners part-time instead of the 3 full-time as we have now. And I understand change is difficult, and change is difficult for everyone, and we were attempting to take away not only your salary, but your power, and that could be perceived as threatening. So we have eliminated that provision. However, having said that, also, we do still firmly believe that it probably would be in the best interest of the county at some future point to have part-time commissioners and a full-time county manager. But since that did not seem to be in the electoral cards, we did stick with and have recommended very strongly that a county manager be appointed. And we would stay with the 3 full-time commissioners. And that is our proposal. Now, I want to address a quote from Commissioner Schaefer of the May 29th meeting. He said of our existing system, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, in my opinion, this is a vision of the present. I submit it isn't a vision of the future, and it's certainly not a vision of the past. As a history major, I've always fallen back on the adage that those who ignore the past are condemned to repeat it. And in the past, this county has not functioned well under previous commissioners. I want to review just very briefly some of the people and who have testified before the committee and some of their more salient statements. For example, Commissioner Murdoch testified that 27 of our 36 Oregon counties have a county manager. And he testified that an administrator may help with continuity and institutionalizing the county vision. The system itself is set up for a lack of continuity because of three different factors. Number one, commissioners are elected, reelected, defeated, decide not to run. So we have a rotating menu of commissioners. Number two, the chair rotates. So we have rotating leadership. And then finally, we have rotating administrative duties. So this whole system is a perfect storm for instability, and that's what it has been in the past. Ralph Wyatt, who testified, he's the Lynn County Administrator in Albany, he said it takes 18 to 24 months to bring a new commissioner up to speed due to the complexities of county law. Jim Barrow, who is a retired Umatilla County administrator, he testified that an administrator would be helpful because the commissioners could then concentrate on advocacy and important commissioner responsibility. Dan Lanai, the director of the County Administrative Services, testified that Commissioner Murdoch now serves as a de facto manager. A county manager would create continuity. Paul Chalmers, the current director of Assessment and Taxation for 28 years, said different commissioners and combinations of commissioners over the years have created low morale, negative employment conditions, and he also said Commissioner Murdoch serves as de facto county manager. Robert Paul, Chief Financial Officer of the county, said, the county is a complex organization, and it takes time for a commissioner to learn and understand. A manager would allow the commissioners time to set goals, policies, and directives, and this is really important. About 35 to 40% of the county budget, he said, comes from state and federal funds. It is very important that the commissioners advocate for these funds. And in a minute, after I speak, Dan Duran is going to speak to that issue. And he also said, and we were asked a lot of questions about money and where are we going to find the money for such a position. Robert Paul said funding could and would be found in the budget. Jennifer Blake, a 27-year county employee.
In her dreams.
I've just time warped her.
She loves it.
Yeah, she loves it. The current conditions at the county are the best ever due to Commissioner Murdoch's approach and philosophy. A big question is how one creates and maintains continuity during a commissioner change. Elections cause emotional and low morale roller coasters for all county employees, especially at the director and manager level. A manager would create continuity depending on the person. Byron Smith, who's the Hermiston city manager, said there is a strong pool of specialized people who specialize in managing county government to draw from. He said with their correct recruitment approach, we would not have trouble finding qualified people. And Commissioner Alfering, if I may quote, said, the turnover of commissioners does impact continuity and influence morale. Larry Givens said the time has come to have a county manager and not a weak manager a county manager that is educated and experienced in municipal government. The cost for the additional position could be offset by decreased salaries for the commissioners. You probably don't want to hear that one, but we're not making any recommendations as to salaries at this point. And I also note that the county, as far as I can tell, did not have a strategic plan until 2013 when Commissioner Murdoch began to work on it, edit it, published it. So what we're asking for is, well, let me back up a minute. The charter was adopted in 1994. And at that time, our county population was 59,249 people. Our budget was about 18 million. Now, and that was in 90, a few years before the charter was adopted. Now, our population has grown to 80,765 people, and our budget is 75 million. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of difference. I want to conclude by reading something to you, and that is, the Charter Advisory Committee recommends that the Board of Commissioners appoint a county administrator to provide the coordination between the board and the teams and departments and between the departments themselves that will result in more efficient accomplishment of all of the tasks necessary to effectuate board policy and provide timely delivery of services to the public. What am I reading from? I am reading from the Umatilla County Charter Review Advisory Committee, December 1, 1994. 15 years ago, it's been recommended that we have a county manager. And in response to your comment, why do we need it in the charter? Because we want to mandate it, period. We do not want, we don't want to go back to the old system of commissioner management of the departments. We feel that professional management is necessary. You can spend more time advocating in Salem, in Washington, D.C., being responsive to the public. You will have more time available. You control the county administrator, manager, whatever you want to call him or her. He or she works at your direction, your control. You will be in charge, but the day-to-day administration of all of the departments would be left to a professional. So with that, I want Dan to say a few words. Unless you have any questions at this point, I'll be here in case you have any more questions. Any questions?
Not at this point. I do want to acknowledge the appearance of Sally Anderson Hansel, the fifth member of the group who's joined
I
you.
was right.
Well,
He
wait a
wasn't
minute.
here when you did that.
Dan Dorn, Hermiston, Oregon, member of the Charter Review Committee. First of all, I think Chairwoman Grable definitely and eloquently stated and encapsulated the work of the Charter Review Committee. She did not get to the next two items, and I will try to touch those real quickly. But going back to the management system, I think just in current times and very short time ago, last week an article came out that Bend had just received $60.7 million from the Federal Highway Administration, grant money for an interchange. And as you read through that story, they had one city councilman that had actually spent 21 days in Washington, D.C., along with the commissioner, trying to make visual and trying to advocate for that project. So it is important. Advocacy is important, especially in rural areas or at all times, but maybe even more special at this time. So I understand and I appreciate the work that's done by all three commissioners. I think it's a heavy load to carry every day. There's no doubt about it, and it's done very well by commissioners. And all have your own individual personalities. That gives the county multiple personalities. I think that with a manager, a personality or a brand or a iconic vision of the county can be produced. I'm a very strong advocate for a manager very strong advocate for a management of departments that come through one head. I've sat on many business boards, administrative boards, and corporate boards. And it all has to start with somebody at the head of the table with consistency. So for that, I strongly advocate to put this on the ballot and let the people of Umatilla County make that choice, how they want to be managed in their departments and how they want to be managed. It'll be a strong sell. I don't think that it's going to be an item that's overwhelmingly positive or overwhelmingly negative. I think that the people of Umatilla County have become such a diverse group of people with many different industries and industrial focus that the decision will be tough for each and every individual Umatilla County voter. But that's up to you guys to put it on the board, and I strongly advocate for that. Number 2 is the changes for the election of the county commissioners. And we also, through discussion during our last meeting, after listening to the commissioners, we think that the proposal we put together for the election of the commissioners streamlines and addresses whether they're perceived or real issues that have come up in past commissioner turnovers. And we also have listened to people that say that it would be less expensive for the commissioners if implemented. Commissioner Schaefer talked about the state statute. I don't think that we didn't think that would cure the issue that we're looking at, because even then you could split votes with a write-in in the primary. So we strongly recommend putting that on the ballot too. And then item 3 is the sheriff's office, and I believe that speaks for itself. I don't think there was much disagreement about that. One of the members or one of the citizens that testified during the May 19th meeting was strongly opposed to it, but after discussions with the sheriff's office and I think Commissioner Schaefer, I think that view changed also. So again, I would like to thank you guys and for the appointment to this committee. I think it's been one of the most interesting committees I've sat on, most educational by far. And I think it's been one of the great groups of people, each and every one of them in their contributions to this committee. And I strongly recommend and advocate that the commissioners take into consideration what we've accomplished and refer it to the ballot. Thank you.
Commissioners, I'm Mark Gomolski. I was also a member of the committee. I want to thank you very much for appointing all of us that were here. I want to thank Doug for everything you've done. Just to let you know for sure, it was not just the Commissioner Schaefer, Commissioner Elfring's thoughts. We also took in consideration all the public comment we received in the last several meetings that we had. And that brought us to the conclusion in our private meetings, in our work session, to change the ballot initiatives that we are putting before you today. As Michelle has said, the revised and the new recommendations are before you. But again, it did not come easily. We had 18 months. I also want to let the public know that the public meetings were always published. They were always welcome. But until the last few meetings, the public really didn't participate. But when they did, we did listen to them. And we do appreciate them coming out. We also appreciate all the speakers that came before us, and all the employees and all the former executives. It wasn't an easy process. We didn't always agree, but we all made sure that when it came down to the end, we made a consensus, which is what you now have before you. So again, we thank you for your consideration, and we hope that you can see your way past, that you can put these on the ballot. Thank you.
I'm getting head shakes from the other 2 members, which I took as not wanting to speak. Is that correct? All right. Moral support. All right. Comments in response, Commissioner Elfring.
Two of the measures are non-budgetary items, are purely administrative. The change of a county manager is a general fund item that certainly needs to be considered, the finances, the financial implications of it considered. I really appreciate the work that this committee has done in coming to these conclusions and presenting them. And my own feeling is that there's very little disagreement with what has been presented. The fact of a need of a county manager, I think there's a need there and I think you've very eloquently stated the reasons and the needs for that. I think they certainly need to be considered. And I appreciate the work that you've done and would hope that we can take these matters under advisement, work toward some accomplishment of them. Whether they all would go on the ballot or not would be certainly a matter to be considered separately.
I too want to thank the committee for your work. 18 months, that's not an easy ask of anybody, so I appreciate the time and effort you guys put into this. One of the things I want to say about what Dan, what you spoke about, was that one individual who did speak against the sheriff's office language. I did speak with that individual, and it was the actual sheriff. It wasn't the entire office. It was the sheriff himself. And the three of us talked, and that individual is 100% on board with the language changes. I just wanted to kind of clarify that for a little bit. But yeah, so again, I thank you very much for all the efforts you put into this. I know it was not easy what we asked of you, but you rose to the occasion. So thank you very much.
As I think everyone knows, since day one, I have spoken adamantly about accepting the integrity of this committee and accepting your recommendations. I made less comments at the initial presentation because of wanting to support the integrity of the committee. I will say that I was not excited about the 5 part-time commissioners. Appreciate the direction in which you have gone. I appreciated the chair's reference to history. I know that in the past we have had a quasi-administrative position in the county, and in many eyes it did not go well. But I don't know that would be a basis for not having administration in the future. I've been involved with school districts. When you have a superintendent that doesn't work out, you don't eliminate the position of superintendent. You get a new superintendent who will work out. So I understand you don't abandon it based on the fact that the leadership model wasn't successful. I do appreciate the continuity and the stability references. And I think one of the key issues that I've heard from people who have concerns about the matter of leadership in the county is accessibility. I think the current commissioners have worked extremely hard to be accessible to the public, to be accessible to the staff, and to the accessible to the administration. And this is something that I've been told is highly appreciated. And I think whatever direction we would go, the commissioners would be extremely committed to the idea of accessibility. But that being said, I don't know when we have to act if we're going to the ballot fairly soon, do we not?
That is correct, probably by the next board meeting.
By the next board meeting, and would say reaffirm the fact that I remain committed to the integrity of the committee's report in that regard. So would we, if we wish to deal with whether or not to place this on the ballot, would we need to take any action, Council?
Yes. If you want to put it on the ballot, there would be a formal order adopting.
I really wasn't wanting that quite yet, but
Not today, though, is that?
Right. I mean, you have to do
I'm
that.
asking that we put on our August meeting, which is August
7th, I believe.
7th,
Yes.
a decision as to where we intend to go. This has gone on for 18 months. I see no value in fussing around any longer. I'm soliciting a motion.
So the motion you're soliciting, I guess, just to clarify, we're not saying put this on the ballot as presented, is that?
No, that we put on the ballot.
Consider it at our next board.
At our next meeting, whether or not to put it on the ballot.
Okay, I would make the motion that we consider that, first of all, we accept the report.
Yes.
And that we come back by the next meeting to make our recommendation whether to put it on the ballot as presented or not.
I will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you very much. And you're all welcome to come back on the 7th of August.
Now,
do note, on the 7th of August, we will be at the Stafford Hansel Building. We will not, that's a precedent-setting meeting, I think. It's at the Stafford Hansel Building in the middle of the Umatilla County Fair. But we will be meeting in Hermiston.
And Commissioner's remark doesn't mean that you have to leave. You can stay.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, George, right?
Yes, how did you know?
I know.
Yeah.
Do you have the voice to lead us all?
No, we're fine. I would.
Is that the cake? Is that what that is?
That's the cake, yeah. The candles would endanger the courthouse. The number. All right, thank you. All right, item number 2, courthouse east wing roof.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Lanai, Director of Administrative Services, and Mark Tanner, Facility Manager for the county. We have before you a few pinkies here, but they're white now. This one here is for the boiler, right? Or no, we're on the roof. I got to get them in the right order, sorry. This is for the roof. So this last winter, we replaced the middle section, the ballast roof we had up there with all the rock on it. And we have one more portion of roof that's over the Sally Port, which is basically directly above the law library that has the ballast still on it. So ballast meaning it's covered with 6 inches of river rock up there. That roof leaks into the law library, so we still have a leak on that section, and it's separated. So it has nothing to do with our other contractor, totally different portion of the building because it was built separately later in the 80s, that portion. Very hard to find the leaks because the rock is everywhere and moving the rock. It needs to be replaced, and we want to replace it again with another roofing membrane roof that we do not have to have ballast on it. So it's glued down, and then, so we don't have to.
Is that the same style we just put on?
Basically, like what we put on there and similar to what we already have on the 2 court wings and the assessor and the records wing over here in the fronts. No, they're a little bit different actually, but no more ballast rock. This will get rid of all of our rocks, so we don't have to worry about moving that rock anymore. And we don't really want leaks in the law library. We don't want leaks anywhere because of mold and destruction. We would want to move forward to getting an RFP and getting back to quotes and seeing what we can do after that. And then we'll bring that back to the board to make a judgment if you want to proceed or not with the replacement.
Mr. Chair, I move that approval of the request to request to go for a request for proposal.
Second.
Before we vote, I think it's important to have as a matter of record, to note all of these considerations, if I'm not mistaken, are now included in our preventive maintenance projects for the coming year. Isn't that correct?
Those are.
I think the master plan. We do that with our road equipment, and I would also want that to be a record here that this is within our preventive maintenance master plan for the coming year. All right, all in favor say aye.
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 The next item is the replacement of the second boiler in the courthouse here.
Yes, by all means, let's get it warmer in the courthouse right now.
Well, it's supposed to be warm today, so. The maybe lose my train of thought there.
Sorry about that.
We'll move right on to the chiller if you want.
Both those boilers,
The higher
More
priority right now.
pressing.
this is the time of year that we want to replace the boilers, though, because we're not heating the building, so it's the best time. But the two boilers that we had, they were both failing, and one was worse than the other. And so we replaced that about a year and a half ago, but the other boiler needs to be replaced too. And because when there's just one unit, it's not enough. When we get to the below freezing temperatures, it just can't keep up one boiler. So we have to have two once we get past November. And we'd like to move forwards with that, to the replacement of a similar boiler with that. And we get energy incentives on that too, because they are more energy efficient than the ones that we currently have in there.
Mr. Chair, I move approval. We go out for request for RFP to replace the failing boiler.
Second.
Again, I would ask that the record show that this is part of the 2019-20 Preventive Maintenance Master Plan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners. And then the third and final is the chiller. So the chiller put in here when the building was originally built in 1955 when they installed it. And we've had it worked over several times. The last time was about 5 years ago, and he modified and retrofitted and tried to get parts to fix it. And it worked until now, and the repairman says he cannot get the parts to do it. It has 3 chambers, and they're basically cooling chambers, if I'm right, and one of them is completely failed, and you can't replace it. So it's firing on the other, or running the other 2, which isn't enough to keep the place cool enough when it gets above in the high 80s, as we noticed here.
So are we on selective as far as which departments are warm and which are cold?
We can't really do that. It doesn't really, we can turn off the air, but yeah.
Let's not do that.
But what happens is the 2 are working harder trying to cool, which means they're going to fail sooner.
You said that's from 1955?
Yeah, and we run into a little bit of problem because in '84 when they built the Sally port on, they blocked the way to get that chiller out. So we'll have to do an alternative, probably mount it on the roof and stuff, then put it down in the basement where it currently is, because we can't get the old one out unless we chop it up. But we can't chop up a new one and put it in there. So we'll have to do a little bit of changing, but that's in the RFP here. So.
Mr. Chair, I move that we go out for request for proposals for replacement of the failing chiller at the courthouse.
Second.
And again, I'd want to have the record of the 2019-20 Preventive Maintenance Master Plan included. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks.
Item number 5, post-retirement employment.
This is coming before the board. Did HR want to?
Jennifer Blake, Umatilla County Human Resources. I'm here before you on behalf of the Sheriff's Office with a post-PERS retirement request from Darlene Schmidt. Darlene was originally a dispatcher for Hermiston and moved over when we did the transition to our current dispatch center. She's now requesting to retire as of the end of July. It says August 1st in her letter, but for county purposes it would be July 31st, 2019 is her retirement date. And then she'd like to continue as a post-PERS retiree through December 31st of 2019. So that is before you and under consideration.
Well, seeing as how I worked with Darlene for many years, I would begrudgingly make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 6, creation of position public health. Ms. Southwick.
Good morning, Alicia Southwick, Deputy Director with Umatilla County Public Health. I have before you, I met with you guys a few meetings back about our school-based health centers and that we are resuming medical sponsorship of them in-house. With that, when I was talking about it last time, we were looking to create positions for a nurse practitioner and for mental health staff. We have posted and filled those positions, and now we are seeking to add a medical assistant to that team, and that will complete the school-based health center team for the upcoming school year.
Good.
Am I
Mr.
thinking
Chair,
of something different here, or is this the one where it's creating one whole position? Was that a different position?
This is creating a new position, and it's at a 0.8 FTE that'll follow the school year.
So you get summers off, right, on this one?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I approve the motion.
Second.
Go.
Something on the record real quick. I just want to highlight that this will be a new position that is not yet bargained for with the unions. So we're in the midst of doing that. So the approval for this would be also contingent upon the fact that the union agreed to our proposal on the pay range for that. So I just wanted that on the record.
Okay. Did you second that?
I did.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. You have item 7 as well.
So last meeting we put out, or 2 meetings ago, we put out an RFP for proposals for renovation work at both of our school-based health centers with funding that we received through a HRSA capital grant. We received one bid back, and it was over budget, but I'm asking to look at us initiating a contract with them contingent on negotiating of the pricing that is within the funding that we have available.
So you're asking for no general fund contribution?
Correct. This would all come from the grant, and the company that put in the bid is aware of how much we have in the grant funding, and that there is no more money outside of that.
So what happens if you can't get to an end point here?
We may need to look at further adjustments to the scope of work, and it may require going back to HRSA. I'm hoping that we can adjust the scope of work enough to be within budget for them and for us. And then if that still is not able to be negotiated, we'll need to discuss with HRSA that we're unable to accomplish the full scope of work with the amount of money that we have, and go from there.
And you did say that the contractor knows how much that grant was for. Is that correct?
Yes, made it very clear how much we have. We've met a couple of times since the bid opening, and I'm optimistic that things will work out.
And that's Kirby Nagelhout?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move approve the initiation of a contract with Kirby Nagelhoff contingent upon negotiation of the price.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8, transitional housing repairs.
Good morning. Tammy Sundin, Umatilla County Community Corrections, filling in for Dale Primer, who's enjoying the coast. Our transitional house houses anywhere from 10 to 13 on a daily basis, and so the floor at the joints are starting to break off. So we're recommending that we replace the kitchen, the day room, and the hallway at this time before it goes into, and parts of it you can see the subfloor. So if we don't get this taken care of soon, it's going to be even more of a cost to us. So Richard from the maintenance department reached out to a couple of flooring company or businesses here in town, and he was only able to receive one bid. So we're requesting that we can go with Pendleton Flooring to take care of the flooring issues.
Do we have, as a matter of record, those to whom he reached out?
He reached out to Soft Step and the Pendleton Flooring, but Soft Step never did get a bid in, and we gave them, quite a little while to.
Okay.
So Richard's kind of the one that was going out and receiving the bids for us, so we only received one of them back.
What's our number of occupants in that facility?
Pardon me?
How many occupants do we have there? How many residents?
10 to 13. And so you're talking a lot of traffic. I mean, you're talking heavy traffic.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve that request.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to fill in for Dale more often.
It's a lot shorter.
and carry the message, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. All right, item number 9, community development grant payable.
Good morning, Gail Nelson, Economic Development. Our community development grant Our grant committee met the end of June for our second quarter grants, and our smaller ones have been processed through, but we had two larger ones. The first one is coming out of community development. It's for Milton Freewater Kiwanis. They are wanting to replace the hand lines used for watering the cemetery to an irrigation sprinkler system. They've taken this on as their project. They feel that cemetery is also used more as a city park. People often run or walk or jog in that area. So they're wanting to do this fairly large project. They are going to do a lot of the work themselves and with the youth group in town to physically do the work. So the $10,000 grant would go towards specifically the equipment or the piping and the sprinkler heads and those types of items that they need for the project. So it would be coming out of community development grants.
I've actually been talking to some of the people involved in this, and I'm really impressed with the fact that they've got the youth involved in this project, and as well as numerous other entities. So I think they've done a really good job on that. So,
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 10, I believe you have that as well.
Yes. Item 10 is also grants, but this would come out of our economic development fund. It's the Pendleton Lodge here in Pendleton. New ownership, and they quite a large project overall, and so this is a small segment of it. We're requesting $6,000, and it would be designated specifically to the replacement of their second-story roof drains. As they continue all of their work on their building, they'll be able, hopefully, to upgrade the whole building and be able to use it on a full-time basis. Right now, they have conditional use for just their monthly kind of music concert series, and that conditional use because they don't want people in the building all of the time. So as they make some of their different renovations and updates and remodels, then hopefully they'll be able to be open on a regular basis and not just the monthly music series. So we're hoping that will be driving economic development in the sense that they're open more and be able to employ more and then provide more options for Pendleton dining and entertainment, but they're a ways from that, and I do know that they are going out for other funding in several different locations. So the grant committee wanted to keep this project really specific to just the second-story drains, and the amount is $6,000 for it.
I believe they're already in operation, are they not, and having concerts there?
They are.
Some events there now?
Yeah, and they only can do it as a monthly series. So once, I think it's once a month they can have their music series go on. But it's that provisional use where it's only once a month. Ultimately, if they can make all their upgrades and renovations, then they'd be able to open more frequently.
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Item number 11, now a payable.
Is that me or you?
You?
This is coming before the board. This is the annual dues to Northwest Oregon Water Association. And as in the past, there's also, besides $1,000 dues, the county does pay an additional contribution, and in this case, it's $20,000. So the total payable is for $21,000.
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I couldn't get my file to open.
Well, let the record show Commissioner Schaefer was at a loss for words.
Technically challenged, is he?
Wow.
All right. Item number 12, the other Oregon publication.
I've missed you.
I'll bet you have.
I believe that's yours, Mr. Chair, is it?
Yes. As we've discussed several times, there's now a publication called The Other Oregon, A Voice for Rural Oregon. We believe very strongly that now, perhaps more than ever, there is a need to have a voice for rural Oregon. We do not believe the needs and interests of rural Oregon are being addressed in a manner to which we're totally comfortable. We also believe that Umatilla County is open for business, encourages business activity here, and prides itself in finding ways to say yes, to encourage business, and we think we have a successful track record of attracting business. The other Oregon is a publication that currently is received by what is perceived as the 5,000 most influential leaders in the state of Oregon. So I am moving that we contract with the other Oregon to have the voice of Umatilla County be reflected in each forthcoming issue for the coming year.
Mr. Chair, I would concur and second that motion and add that Umatilla County is in a position of leadership in Eastern Oregon, being the largest county in Eastern Oregon and without a doubt the most economically active one in Eastern Oregon. We need that message to be recognized and at least received by those 5,000 leaders in Oregon. So I would second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, item 13, human service employment. Good morning.
Good morning. Amy Ashton Williams, Director, Umatilla County Human Services. I come before you today to get approval for an on-call worker who has a criminal record, a misdemeanor that is 17 years old. Is there anything else that you want me to say about that? We're okay?
Not necessarily.
I don't think so.
I know it's been vetted at considerable length, and so I'm comfortable with your due diligence in that regard.
And
I'm familiar with the history.
The reason it comes before us is because it's exception policy, county policy.
Yes.
Right.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve the hiring.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our agenda. Comments from the commissioners.
Well, just to let you know, since you're recently returned to us, first of all, happy birthday, and second of all, that when you left, there was a matter of a Umatilla County Fair kickoff parade on August the 3rd coming up that we typically appear in, and we do have our conveyance arranged for, the same as we have in the past, and it's been taken care of. By the way, just for the record, Gay Newman is our contact for that. He's the one who has arranged it, and it's set up and ready to go.
Well, thank you for that. Oh, did you have something too?
No, I'm disappointed we can't ride horses, but.
I've heard the stories.
We probably can arrange that.
Yeah.
No,
I've been wanting to do that for how many years now?
So I attended my first conference and as a commissioner, and they gave us these fancy named badges, and each badge gave us like mine is the first time attendee, or as I called it, my rookie flag. Also had my voting delegate flag on there, and there's many other flags that, some of the people who'd been there for a long time had a lot of flags on their name badges.
You didn't get the one that says I'm qualified to be president.
No, I did not. I did not get that one, but I did notice you didn't pick up one of yours, and I noticed they had one for Commissioner Murdoch as well. The tag says old timer, in case you're wondering what the tag says. But so I grabbed your tags for you if you'd pass that one down.
I'll refer back to President Reagan's comment regarding immaturity and lack of experience.
Yeah. One of the things you'll find with experience is you acquire a large enough tummy for all these to hang down. So it works in that fashion.
Flow, don't they?
Yeah, they do. There are people with 8 and 10 of them, but the school board's convention exceeds it. So anything else you want to add of value?
No, actually, the NACO conference was actually, in seriousness, was a very good conference. I was very glad I attended. I was able to bring back a lot of things to the county that I've been working on since my return. It was very beneficial.
You seem to cause a lot of controversy in the presidential election, or the second vice president election.
That wasn't me. No.
Who was elected?
Larry Johnson.
Oh, thank God. Good. One other thing, just for a matter of record, Commissioner Schaefer, I saw an article in the paper from Mayor Turner indicating that there's serious work being done relative to the flooding, not just, oh, woe is me, that was terrible, but something more than that. And you're providing the county leadership in that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to work with Mayor Turner, as well as several others in the community. It's a really neat environment. The environment is, okay, this happened, let's get to work to make sure that, one, it doesn't happen again, two, we can fix what's happened. I mean, there's no finger pointing, it's just all rolling up our sleeves and getting to work, and it's a good feeling to be a part of that, so.
Well, thank you for that.
As liaison to the county fair, I'd remind everyone the county fair is rapidly approaching. The fair board is working weekly, daily at the fairgrounds, making sure that everything is prepared and ready. And it's a major task.
Will you have all the road work done? I know you've been working on it.
The road work.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let's see. I don't think I've. Which one are we talking about? Airport Road.
Airport Road. Yeah, that's sure.
We've been working on that one. It's ready to move forward.
Good. All right. We're adjourned.